Breaking the cycle to step forward. Authentic conversations from lived experience and a professional perspective in overcoming abuse with Chris Tuck and Beverly Ann.
Hello and welcome to Breaking the Cycle to Step Forward. I'm Beverly Ann, and as always, joined by the lovely...
Hi everyone, Chris here, and we're together.
Yes! I surprised Chris, and she thought I was going to come online, but I didn't. I came onto her front doorstep.
She's always surprising me.
So today's title, Chris,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about cultural difference and CSA, child sexual abuse. And this is something that we've been very aware of because we want to be aware about different cultures and different faiths and beliefs. And there's a lot of times where people say, oh, but in our country, it's different, considered different. And we've got an example which has been brought to our attention by someone we know very well, isn't it?
Yeah. So Emma Jane Taylor, this last 2 weeks, I believe, has been going hard on her social media, talking about the Dutch volleyball player, Steven van der Velde, if that's how you pronounce his name, who is trying to win a medal at the Olympics in Paris. But he is a convicted sexual offender for life here in the UK. So she's been raising a lot of awareness around this because she's saying we need to be protecting children in all countries. So this opens up a great big conversation for us because we are always trying to understand cultures, but the bottom line is that children need to be protected. And just because one culture thinks and practices a different way doesn't make it right when we know different in 2024.
Absolutely. And I think what's important here is to look at some of the facts that Emma has laid out very clearly, and we can look at this because the facts do make a difference. So the first thing that I'm going to raise is he was convicted at the age of 19. So he went through court and was convicted of raping a 12-year-old child.
Yeah.
So just want that fact to be embedded.
And that is a fact in our jurisdiction. A 12-year-old rape of is a criminal act, is a crime. Therefore, if convicted, you will go to prison. However, in other countries around the world, a 12-year-old is considered in some cultures a child bride and potentially gone through puberty. That's how they become the age of a bride. And then obviously if they're married, that's consensual. But obviously we don't agree with any of that because the child is not mature in their bodies to actually take the adult male on board. I'll leave it there.
Yes.
But without causing them a lot of physical harm. And it's just not right, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And emotional, because let's be honest, at 12 years old, and often in child marriages, you know, they're marrying someone it's not consenting in any way, shape or form. It's been arranged and to a much older person. So we'll leave that there because we're going to focus on this. The Olympics is very much in our mind because it's just starting this week and we're all following the Olympics. So this is a really good case to highlight this. And we want to follow on from Emma Jane, the great work that she's been doing to highlight this. So the next fact is that now he's convicted in the UK. In the UK, he will be on the child sexual offenders list for life.
100%.
Yeah.
So usually in the UK, what that would mean for a convicted perpetrator is that they may have some licensing agreement around their movements, around what they can and can't do when it comes to being around children, i.e. the jobs that they undertake and things like that. Their movements should be watched, and they should not be able to work with children and young people, because then they're not going to reoffend, hopefully. But this person, Stephen Vandervelde, is no longer in the UK, Bev.
No, and if he was in the UK, what is good, he now couldn't change his name legally.
Hopefully.
Yes, hopefully that's right
Yeah.
near the end of,
Yeah.
of the changes, but that's to happen any time. So we're very aware of this. However, he's not British.
Correct.
He's Dutch.
Yeah.
And what's happened is in the Netherlands, it's very different, isn't it?
In their what they consider a crime, yes, because when he served his prison sentence over here, he did 1 year, and the treaty between the Netherlands and the UK allowed him to be taken back to his home country, and his criminal act that he got convicted for, rape, in this country, was downplayed to fornication in his home country. And then, because of time served in our country, he became a free man and he was able to get on and just live his life.
I have no words. I'm
No.
absolutely shocked. Because he's considered a free man, now that has legally changed in the Netherlands.
Yeah, yeah,
And now, if that was to happen now,
yeah.
they have changed their law to match the UK.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's happened is he went back, returned to the Netherlands, when at that time it didn't match. It now matches the same as the UK. So
Yeah,
it
the
would be
outcome.
seen as rape
Yeah,
against a minor.
yeah,
However, it was after he was convicted. So now he is going to represent his country
yeah.
and be part of a team
Mm-hmm.
playing volleyball and obviously aspiring to gold.
Yeah. And it's just like what Emma Jane said, was what is the message that we're sending out to children and young people and other perpetrators around the world? Like, yeah, go ahead and do what you want to do, and you'll get a slap on the wrist depending on what country you come from, and you can carry on living your life, and you can even win gold medals, and there's no consequence for you raping and sexually assaulting children and young people.
Yeah.
That's the message that he's sending out, and it's
horrific.
Yeah, it's not right.
There is no other words. It's horrific. What I also find, and this really gets my stomach, and I can feel the anger. So anybody who applies to be a volunteer
Mm-hmm.
at the Paris Olympics, the
Mm-hmm.
same place that he's going as a sports person,
Yeah,
they have to go through searches, don't they?
screening process.
Screening process, like DBS, as we
Yeah.
know in this country. And what would happen?
Well, if they've got a criminal record, they can't volunteer. It's as simple as that.
And this is the bit that
And
really
there's
gets
the
me.
protection. There's the protection.
So we have a system in place for protection for young people and
there should
vulnerable
be.
adults,
Yeah.
as we know and recognise.
Yeah.
So Stephen Vandervelde cannot be a volunteer at the Paris Olympics
Because of his criminal records.
but he can become a sports person and potentially, because everyone's aspiring to gold, be heralded and be surrounded by
children and young people,
yeah,
as their potential like mentor or
idol.
the person they look up to. Exactly, their idol.
Yeah.
His idol, rather.
Yeah. And yet he's a convicted rapist.
100%.
Of a minor.
Yeah. And I know I've watched a few videos or read about what he's been saying, and it literally is, I made a mistake, I've done my time, surely I should be allowed to get on with my life.
No.
That's not verbatim, but that is what it sums up. And that is what every perpetrator says that I've ever come across when I've read or watched their case. And it's exactly what my dad said as well. I've done my time. Let me get on and live my life. But we often know that perpetrators don't only perpetrate against one victim. There's often multiple victims before and after. And I'm not saying this of Stephen van der Velde, I'm not saying this of him, but many of them do have many victims before and after they get caught.
Absolutely. And in this case, we don't have evidence of that. So we can only speak about the one case. So I'm going to play devil's advocate and just say where my anger comes from, my empathy, my passion, you know, is from that 12-year-old girl's
the victim,
perspective.
The survivor.
You know, my heart goes out to her, and I hope she's got lots of support, because I know how angry I feel, and it will be, you know, I want to participate in watching the Olympics because I find it fascinating. Also doing some work with some young people. You know, we've been doing a project that we're doing for the summer so that everybody gets involved. I remember being a teenager and watching Fatima, you know, Fatima, for anyone who's listening to this podcast, Fatima Whitbread was one of our
javelin throwers.
One of our guests. So if you've not listened to that podcast or watched the video, please do, because she's such an inspiration.
Inspiring,
And knowing that we're going to watch the Olympics, I don't know about you, she's been on my mind all weekend, thinking how must it have felt at a young age.
Exciting.
So this is where, you know, the Olympics is so important. We're talking about, you know, it's not just national, it's a worldwide event.
Stage, yeah.
And what we're saying is, oh, it doesn't matter. That wasn't illegal in Netherlands at that moment, at that time, so it's okay.
I mean, we're talking a lot about the perpetrator at the moment, and we do need to dedicate some of the conversation to him, as we've done, purely to point out that we need more research and more understanding around why individuals do what they do to harm children and young people. But we now need to, I think, turn this conversation, as you did, back to this 12-year-old girl who is potentially seeing, if she's watching TV or listening to the radio, this is a big story now. So she's seeing this,
and she
potentially
will be a beholder,
all over the media or a social media. Can you just imagine if it was us? Like, and you know, even if we take it back to Savile, his victim and survivors said every time a news story come up, it's just a re-victimization. It's a re-traumatization every time his name's mentioned. So you can only imagine what this 12-year-old, who now is an adult, I assume, or in her early teens, late teens.
She'll be in her early 20s.
So whatever age she is, she's going to be having this come back at her over and over again. And it ain't right.
It's not. So I would like to say, I'm not saying she's listening, but I want to say to every survivor here that's listening to this is, first and foremost, you are not alone. The silence is being stopped. And it's silence that exacerbates it. That doesn't mean to say it's easy to hear. If anyone's listening and you're being triggered by anything, even in this conversation, please think about your wellness tools. And in your wellness tools, who can you reach out to for support? Who do you need to touch base with? And that's so important. As we've said before, Chris and I still have support ourselves. You can call it therapy, call it supervision, whatever it is that works for you. It's very important. And it's important to be able to express how you're feeling. I think that's the important part, Chris, isn't it?
And express to a safe, trusting person, or if you haven't got one of those, writing it down somewhere or recording it somewhere, so that, you know, if you come across a person that you get to know and trust, you can maybe share it with them in whatever way is suitable for you.
And I'm one of these people that actually find it challenging to write and express. So it doesn't have to be in words, it can be in pictures.
Yeah,
A picture
pictures.
tells 1,000 words, isn't it? What they
Yeah,
say?
100%. Yeah.
So
Or record it.
yeah, write poems,
Yeah.
write songs. So we are very aware about talking about this because, you know, we're sharing our passion and it does come out and it is a trigger. So we just think it's important to think about that. And it's also important to think about cultural difference. Now, this is really challenging because, as we can see in this case, if we take it from a Dutch perspective, even though the laws have been changed, there will be lots of people that are um, Dutch who will remember a time when it wasn't seen as illegal.
Yeah, yeah. And still have that belief system
Yes.
because their awareness and their knowledge is not up to date.
Yes. And it
Takes a long time to change belief systems.
It does.
It can take a generation sometimes. Do you know that?
And longer.
Yeah.
And longer.
Yeah.
So this is where it makes it a good conversation to open, because unless we start looking at it from all aspects, we're never going to truly understand it.
So under the cultural, and we're not experts on this, by the way.
No.
We're two white women, middle-aged. Sorry, I had to say that. Middle-aged, perimenopausal, postmenopausal white women who have a certain lived experience,
Yes,
a certain level of expertise, and we don't have all of the answers, but we are part of wider conversations and wider networks where we get to listen and have conversations with people from all different ethnicities, all different ages, young and old, all different socioeconomic groups, and all different professionalisms. So we don't come into this blind, but we certainly don't know it all.
and faith, because
And faith, yeah,
faith is, you know, it's still has its crossovers, as
yeah,
in you're brought up in this faith with that belief, and you know, when we don't have these conversations, what we do, we don't protect our children,
100%.
because what we do, we hide our heads.
Yeah. And you know what this is called? All of this is what you've just described is intersectionality. This
Oh,
is the new sort of like, it's not a buzzword, but it's a word that's being used more and more in the professional circles now, is that no one's experience is the same
yes,
because we all come from different socioeconomics, different religions, different ethnicities, and bearing in mind all those different layers, then the abuse that we suffer and the impacts that we suffer from has different impacts because of all of those intersectionalities.
So can we just, I'm the person that likes to break it down.
Okay.
So intersectionality.
Inter, so
Yes.
then sectionality, different sections
Yes.
basically, and how they all interrelate.
Yes.
Yeah. So going back to cultural differences, so depending on what country you come from around the world, you know, where you're born, you're going to have different laws regarding safeguarding, regarding protecting children, depending on age, depending on what laws you've got in place or not, what the different languages that you use, but also what, I can't think of the words, children and young people, how important they are to you.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to get to, that nub. Menopause brain people, okay? So it all depends how we view our children and young people. Yeah. Do we think they are as important as adults? And yes, they are. Of course they are. But some nationalities don't.
But it is changing. I remember, what, 6 years ago,
Yeah.
going to Malawi on an expedition, and being invited to a workshop there, which was fantastic. And it was two lawyers that had put together a group.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make a change and they want to stop child brides. and they also want, it was with the local police as well, and they wanted to open those conversations and make changes within their own culture, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And I remember being there, and that, you know, even though like with domestic violence, sexual abuse, physical abuse, change doesn't happen straight away.
No.
What was heartwarming was to see these brave women invite the police along. Let's, you know, educate, have these conversations, and have conversations. So they invited us to join, and I actually spoke and shared a poem that I've written, just to show that, see, there is a difference. And also, I was able to stand up at the end and say that voice was from a young girl.
Yeah.
I am that person, that adult child, and the police were able to then ask questions. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because culturally, they were saying it was a patriarchal society.
Yeah.
So, if a woman was trying to leave her husband due to violence or even sexual abuse, the challenges there, they're hard over here. They're even more challenging over
100%,
there.
because they haven't got those laws in place yet.
No, and they
like
haven't
we
got
have
the
over
support.
here. Yeah.
But it's so heartwarming to see that there are people that want to change it.
And I'm wondering how they go about actually broaching the subject, because if their history and their culture has always been, we do this, and nothing's ever been challenged until now, you're going to get those people that won't want to have those changes made because they like the history, they like their culture, they won't want that to be challenged or changed. And I think we get a bit of an issue in what we call Western cultures.
We get that here already.
But so over here, for example, where we've got British born or natives, so we can do any country, but let's just do the UK for simplicity. Then obviously we get people that come and live in the country who do not integrate, and they want their own culture in a different country. And when they don't integrate and when they go after their own culture, it's almost like the laws of the country are being ignored, and we can't allow that, because otherwise we will go backwards.
And this is where it's, I love these conversations.
Yeah.
Because
I'm trying to be diplomatic as well, because I don't want to offend anybody.
no, but sometimes we have to open this conversation.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
With the best interest. But a good discussion means that we are all going to hear different things from different sides. May not always agree.
No.
It may be that we don't always know the full picture.
No. So we can be educated.
Absolutely. We get educated all the time. We don't profess to know everything. We still learn. You know, some of our guests that come on, they blow our minds.
Yeah.
So one of the things about this conversation that I would say is, if you've got a view that you'd like to explore further about this, about the diversity, and it is the diversity of the criminal aspect of abuse, but worldwide. Worldwide. Because it's not the same.
No.
And it would be good to hear your views. It would be good to hear if you've got a question, or if you'd like to share something from yourself. And please email us, and that's breakingthecycle2stepforward@gmail.com. You can always find the link underneath this video, or audio if you're listening to audio. But we need to have these conversations.
We do. And I think it's so important, because when you just come from a place of child protection, i.e. protecting children, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, we're protecting children from assaults, rape, and other kind of sexual assaults on their bodies, which causes psychological, physiological, physical harm, not just when they're a child and young person, but into adulthood, often for a lifetime, impacts everybody around them, costs a fortune to society. Then we need to call it out for what it is.
And we're talking about our future leaders. These are our young people today, are our future leaders. If we can't support them today, how do we expect them to be able to find support later and be able to learn to trust and also know that, you know what, you do have a choice. As an adult, you don't necessarily get that choice as a child, but we want you to have choice. We want you to be able to be enabled and be given that choice or empower you
to
sometimes say, no, I don't want to hug.
Yeah.
As simple as that. And that is going back to the simplest things.
But again, in some cultures, children, young people do not get the right to even say that,
Absolutely.
You do as you're told, or else.
Children
That's
are
it.
seen but not heard.
Yeah, exactly.
And sadly, we're in the UK and we may be in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start talking about giving children, empowering them to say yes or no for consent, even just on a hug or a kiss goodbye from, whoever, that in itself causes controversy.
Yeah. This whole conversation causes controversy, and we've often said it all depends what lens you're looking through, whose shoes you're in, as to what opinion you may have about something. But at the end of the day, child sexual abuse, exploitation, online abuse, offline abuse, it don't matter which kind of abuse it is. It doesn't matter what setting that abuse occurs. It's all wrong. It's all criminal, and it all needs to stop. So zero tolerance approach to this and understanding the impact on that individual is so key, because they should be able to access specialist support as and when they need it. And that is just not the reality, even in the UK today.
Absolutely. So coming right back to the beginning, this is talking about a specific incident that really highlights this so well that we couldn't not bring it to your attention. And that's Stephen Velde, who is a convicted rapist of a minor in the UK. Thank you, Emma J. Taylor, for bringing it to everybody's attention, including ours. And we wanted to acknowledge Emma for the fantastic work that she does. And we are not going to keep silent about this. So, yes, I will be following the Olympics, but I will be not watching the volleyball.
No.
I don't want to give it any...
You don't want to give it any attention.
No.
So Emma Jane is the host of the Silence Radio Show, which I'm also a panel member on. She's also the founder, creator of the No Shame Global campaign. And I know she's very busy towards the end of the year getting married and doing all of that. So good luck with that, Emma Jane. But just follow her across all her social medias. We are all linked in this sector, if that's what you want to call it. We all know of each other, and we like to share good work where it is, and we also praise it when we can. So keep up the good work, everybody that's working in this field, and we need to draw this particular podcast to a close.
Absolutely. And think about your self-care in this. And as we said, you've got our details if you wish to contact us, or please reach out to someone for personal support.
100%. Any last thoughts?
No, that's my last thought.
Okay. So my last thought is, for those who are working in this space like us, keep on trucking, keep your heads up. As Mrs. said here, keep up with your self-care because it's important. And we will see you in the next podcast. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.